Good evening, everyone. I hereby announce that pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the notice which was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall, and filed in the Township Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2024. Mayor Impreviduto is running late, but will be here shortly. Mr. Foster?
Here.
Ms. LaMountain? Here. Mr. Lucarelli?
Here.
Mr. Romano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Foster, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you, everybody. Can we all please rise for Pledge of Allegiance? We could all just remain standing for a moment, silence for our troops who serve us tirelessly abroad and at home. All right, good evening, everyone. As our clerk said, our mayor is running a little bit late, so I will be starting off the meeting, and Mayor Impreviduto will be here shortly. We are going to start off the evening with our resolution. Wendy?
The first resolution will be 2024-282, which is approving police officer promotion to sergeant. Motion?
Can we get a motion, please?
Move. Second.
Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-282 has been successfully passed. Next is the swearing in of Sergeant Weimer.
Now it's on. Now I'm ready. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Brian Foster, members of the Township Committee, Administrator Delaney for having us here tonight for the promotion of Patrick Weimer to the rank of Police Sergeant. I also want to welcome Pat's family and friends and members of the police department that are here, along with any emergency services members that have come out this evening to join us. Also with us is retired chief and the current director of training of Monmouth County Police Academy, John Menashevsky. Thank you all for being part of Pat's swearing-in ceremony this evening. Pat grew up in the Navasink section of Middletown, where he lived with his mom, Christine, father, Jerry, and two sisters. His dad is a retired sergeant for Middletown Police Department. I've known his dad for many years and worked many cases with him over the years. Pat graduated from Middletown High School South in 2010 and went on to attend Rowan University, where he earned two bachelor's degrees, one in economics and one in law and justice. Pat was hired in Homedale in 2016, attended Monmouth County Police Academy. Pat has served the department as a patrol officer, field training officer, drug recognition expert, firearms instructor, and active shooter instructor. Pat currently resides in Middletown with his wife, Laura. Pat has received numerous commendations over the years, and I'm confident he will be an outstanding supervisor. Deputy Mayor, Committee, Mr. Administrator, I present you Patrick Weimer to be sworn in as Sergeant.
I, Patrick Weimer,
I, Patrick Weimer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of a all the duties of a Homedale Township Police Sergeant
all the duties of a Homedale Township Police Sergeant
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Congrats, Sergeant. Thank you, Chief.
Next is the approval of the minutes for the October 22nd, 2024 executive and public sessions and the November 12th, 2024 executive and public session.
Can we get a motion, please?
Move.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
I'm going to abstain from the 22nd and approve the other, please.
Thank you. Ms. Lamountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
I'm going to abstain from the meeting I was absent at, and yes to the one I was at.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the minutes have been successfully approved. Thank you. Next, public comment for agenda items only. Is there anyone here that had any public comment for agenda items only?
Come on up, Mr. Blumenthal.
Wendy, your mic's got a lot of feedback. I don't know if you can adjust it.
Okay, whoops. What's, no. Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I want to get a bit more understanding about the process with regard to Vonage, which is on the agenda. I understand you're not holding the public hearing tonight, but the agenda clearly indicated you're deferring it for a couple of weeks because you need to get planning board review. I understand the planning board does have a meeting later in the month, although that agenda for that has not yet been published. And I'd like to get a little bit of clarification of what the process going forward is. At the last meeting, you did indicate there are multiple steps to this process. And so is the planning board going to actually hold a hearing so that other comments can be made on the meat of the proposal at that point in time?
Is that all your questions, Mr.
Yeah,
Blumenthal?
that, and depending on how you go, I have one very specific question about what's in the proposal. And my understanding, as I heard it, I think, is that there are other steps and that this isn't necessarily the final agreement with the landowner.
All right, Mike,
So there
could you
could be
add
changes.
some color, please?
Sure, Deputy Mayor. A couple of things. First, the ordinance is on the agenda tonight. There will be a public hearing, so if you have any particular questions as to the redevelopment plan, you can certainly speak during that public hearing, and our colleagues from CHA are actually here as well in case there are any questions that they could help us with. The reason we're having the public hearing tonight is because it was properly noticed in the Asbury Park Press for tonight, and we didn't want to deprive anyone of that opportunity. That said, the Township Committee cannot complete final adoption tonight because the Planning Board, as you mentioned, does need to complete its own review, which it's planning to do at its regularly scheduled December 17th meeting, which is a week from today. Same place right here. The Township Committee, as a result, listed the ordinance on the agenda for public hearing, and the motion tonight will be to table final adoption and to have a special meeting on December 19th at 5:30, at which it will consider final adoption. But so the procedure is going to be public hearing tonight, Planning Board next Tuesday.
With a hearing.
With hearing. It's technically not a noticed hearing, but it's an opportunity for the Planning Board to complete its review under the redevelopment law. And then on Thursday, a special meeting to consider final adoption.
Okay, well, in that case, if you're going to be holding the public hearing yet tonight, then I'll save the more detailed
Sure.
comments for that time.
That sounds
Thank you.
fine.
Anyone else from the public? Any questions on the agenda items only? Seeing none, Wendy?
Next would be Resolutions 2024-272 to 2024-281.
Can we get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain,
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli,
Yes.
Mr. Romano.
Yes.
Resolutions 2024-272 to 2024-281 have been successfully passed. Thank you. Next is hearing on ordinance 2024-20, which is a bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of real property for open space, recreation, and preservation purposes in, by, and for the Township of Holmdel in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,250,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bonds anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Do we have any public comments? Come on up, Mr. Yanella.
I'll be brief, which is rare, as you know. Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. I just want to reiterate my comments that I think this is a great purchase for the town. It seems to be a reasonable value, and it's a win for St. Catharines. And so I just think this is a great deal. Thank you.
Anybody else for any public comments? Seeing none, Wendy?
The motion is to adopt on final reading and publish in the Asbury Park Press according to law.
Can we get a motion, please?
Motion.
Move.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain,
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli,
Yes.
Mr. Romano.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-20 has been successfully adopted and will be published in the Asbury Park Press according to law. Next is Ordinance 2024-21, which is an ordinance authorizing acquisition of Block 10.01, Lots 7 and 11 on the tax map of the Township of Holmdel.
Any public comments? Come on up, Mr. Blumenthal.
Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I'll just reiterate what Mr. Yanello said. I think this is a win-win. And it's, to see something like that developed in that location would be inappropriate. And by taking it off the tax records and the township opening it, my informal understanding is that there's no real development plans for it, but it would be used as open space to maintain it. Conceivably, you can keep it as a farmland property, and so that it can be farmed the way it's been, at least let the land and the soils be useful, and that it's a good choice for the township.
Any other public comments? Come on up to Mr. Chiskita. It's really hard for me to say that, knowing your son for so long.
Patrick Truskita, 56 Line Road. I agree with the comments on the land purchase. A great idea. Let's keep it in Holmdel, keep it as a farm, and do well with it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, Wendy.
Motion would be to adopt on final reading and publish in the Asbury Park Press according to law.
Can we get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain,
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli,
Yes.
Mr. Romano.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-21 has been successfully adopted and will be published in the Asbury Park Press according to law. Next for public hearing is ordinance 2024-22, which is an ordinance adopting redevelopment plan for the property identified as Block 13, Lot 15 on the tax map of the Township of Holmdel and commonly known as 23 Main Street, Holmdel, New Jersey, 07733.
Anyone from the public like to comment? Come on up, Mr. Blumenthal.
Just to follow up on the previous comments with regard to understanding the procedure.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I'll bring up one very specific comment on the draft document, and then I had a procedural question as well. On page 6, there's a chart about some of the bulk parameters of what's being proposed here. And I was pleased in general to see the comprehensiveness of this document, because that's been sometimes missing in the past. Let's see, it's a question of how the page numbers. Anyway, on that page under the bulk and design standards, there's a chart for the different uses of the building. The last row is maximum lot coverage by primary structures. And my question here is, what's the denominator? Generally, for zoning ordinances of this nature, the numerator is the sum of all the paved areas, buildings, anything that is deemed impervious. The denominator is the total size of the entire lot. Here, these columns reflect different pieces of the use. And there are charts at the end which show, okay, this is building 1, this is building 2, but does not subdivide the actual property into separate sublots. And for 3 of the uses, the coverage is 25%. For one of the uses, it's 50%. Without actually subdividing the property, it's not at all clear how you apply those numbers or what this means. So I don't know if you want to try to answer that now or refer it to the planner as to how that's going to get handled, but to my mind, this is a complication. If it was all 25%, then it's simple. You mean 25% apply to the entire project, the entire lot, unsubdivided, and the calculation is the normal calculation. But seeing a different number for one of the uses, I don't know what that means. Do you?
Understood. Mike, do you have any comments you want to add on that?
I'd prefer to defer to the special planner that drafted it to give her input. She will be available at the planning board hearing next week, and I'll make specific outreach to her to address this. But what I will note is that, from a practical standpoint, those are really just kind of broad strokes, because the plan itself commits the redevelopment to really the attachments which are going to govern, which is the condominium plan and the site plan. So in terms of coverage and things of that nature, it's going to be based upon that. And in terms of the term lot, I will ask her to clarify, but what the redeveloper is proposing is to condo off the different components of the development. So they'll be using the Condominium Act in order to divide up the lot, but it would be divided under the Condo Act.
So that certainly applies to the individual for sale senior units.
That actually is proposed to be held in a cooperative form of ownership, which would
I'm
be
sorry, the for sale units. But I mean, there's property outside of the buildings, and how that all gets counted for this, it's not at all clear how that gets applied. So, okay, I look forward to talk to the planner at the planning board hearing, see if she has any insight into how this is going to handle it. But that just brings up then the follow-up, which gets at understanding the process going forward. That this is what I'll say, an overall document, and what you're implying is that there will be additional, more detailed documents coming in the future. And do you have any idea when that might be, or will there be public hearings on them, and how will we all be notified as to what's happening?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, certainly, Mayor. As I mentioned at the past meeting, the redevelopment plan is the second step of a three-step process under the redevelopment law. So the third and final step will be adoption of a redevelopment agreement. And specific to this redevelopment project, I could say that it's very complex, and the redevelopment agreement is really where a lot of the fine-tuning is going to occur. So we will be working with CHA to memorialize everything, and I'm sure once we get this adopted, or even sooner, we'll be looking to start that coordination. I would imagine, we're hopefully having a conversation here about the terms of a redevelopment agreement, in the first couple of months of January. It's going to take some time to get the document negotiated and put together, but once it is, we'll certainly look to get that approved. It would be approved by regular resolution of the Township Committee, but it would obviously be on a public agenda beforehand as part of our usual protocols.
So hopefully all of this will be clarified by then.
Of what needs to be clarified.
To what the coverage numbers apply to.
Yeah, I think
how
that's
that's
a
gonna
simple
be
answer that you'll
taken
get next
into
week.
account.
I don't want to speak for Kendra, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, in general, I feel this document has made significant progress from where things were before. It's relatively comprehensive. It's better than some other documents of the same nature that I've seen. So keep at it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ettore Colombini. I live at 23 Country Square Lane in Homedale. And I am really very puzzled and incredibly shocked that this committee is actually considering this application, given the fact that it will undoubtedly greatly worsen the traffic situation in local roads, which is already pretty bad. This was brought up at the last meeting by several of the residents. And, I've lived in Homedale for over 30 years. And over that time, the traffic has gone up considerably, especially on the 520, which is one of the few east-west roads. And so unless, a great improvement is done in the local roads to improve the traffic at these intersections, you shouldn't be considering such an application, which will aggravate the problem. So I think you need to step back and think about, ways of improving the traffic before even considering such an application.
What type of application should we consider?
Pardon?
Something's going to have to go there, so what type of application should we consider?
Well, something different, something that does not create a lot of extra traffic.
For example?
Open space, for example.
We can't spend $26 million to buy the property. I would love to have open space there.
You don't have to buy the property. You just have to deny the application, period. The guy that owns it can keep it.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Very simple.
Mr. Trisquita?
Patrick Trisquita, 56 Line Road. I think this is an excellent plan of the use of a vacant building that's way past its lifetime. This is a great redevelopment effort, and I don't think it's going to increase traffic at all. I can't see a lot of seniors running in and out of this place, that it's increasing the traffic on 520. And it also brings in 5 acres of land for a joint fire and EMS building, or whatever we propose to do with it in the next few years. I do have a couple comments, actually a suggestion, and then a question. First, what is a comment concerning the rental building? I think it's called Unit 2, the senior living apartment building. I think it's not a big jump to make that 100% affordable, moderate income senior housing. And I would suggest that all 40 units be affordable, moderate. that would count towards Homedale's allotment, whichever we get to at what point. So my suggestion would be that entire senior living apartment building unit 2 be what's called low moderate income senior housing. And that would alleviate the need to have any of the for sale 165 units to be affordable, moderate income, and the like. So that's a suggestion. The second thing is I did actually read this entire plan, and it only I only dozed off once during that reading. There's nothing about taxation of the property in that whole plan. What are the ideas? Is it going to be tax? Certain areas are going to be taxed. Certain areas are going to be tax exempt. Certain areas are going to be a pilot. What's the general thought, the thought pattern on what we're going to do for taxation?
I mean, look, we've thought about it as a pilot program, frankly. I think, you know, there's still work to be done as we get forward in the agreement and see what the right path is going to be. But I think, you know, conceptually, that's how we've thought about it. But I
Pilot on
wouldn't.
certain sections, but
Yeah.
tax exempt on other sections, obviously.
Yeah, conceivably, for sure. You know, I'd say it's not a hard and fast thing right now.
Okay.
You know, we've been more focused on ensuring that we have something appropriate there,
Okay.
you know, on the property, and how that works out. You know, we'll, you know, as we've done the whole way through, we'll be transparent about it as we go forward.
Sure. Okay. But some thought would be given to how we're going to.
And a pilot
Tax
would be
that.
done, it would have to be done by ordinance, so that typically follows a redevelopment agreement. So we talked about like first quarter next year on that, a pilot would follow that.
Okay. But you're not thinking about the entire property being tax exempt.
Well,
Tax exempt? No.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean, tax exempt and pilot are two totally different things. Like tax exempt is a religious
Okay.
use or a nonprofit use.
Absolutely zero revenue to Homedale from this.
No, it's understood that the redevelopment
No,
is,
there'll be revenue.
is subject,
Revenue.
is taxable,
you.
yes, yes.
Thank you. Well, I fully support the plan to, and let it go through.
Thank you.
Good evening. Wes Fagan, 50 Chestnut Ridge Road. The effluent from the proposed redevelopment plan is substantially different from the existing office use in quantity and quality. The expected utilization of half-century-old wastewater plant indirectly discharging into Category 1 Willowbrook is short-sighted and dangerous in my view. A sewer system does keep stuff we don't want to see unseen. I grew up in Cliffwood Beach section of Aberdeen. In the late 1960s, our cesspools were replaced with sewers, piped to a plant at the intersection of Greenwood Avenue and West Concourse. It is still an active collection point and can be seen right now on Google Maps. Being one of the closest houses to the plant, we live with the effects from the resultant discharge and directly witnessed its effects for many years. I had multiple occasions to view the treatment process up close inside the plant, and I'm going to share that with you. The main inlet pipe spilled onto a heavy metal screen to remove rubber, metal, and plastics not yet broken into smaller pieces. The slurry movement was then slowed to scoop off fats, oils, and whatever else floated. Sand and rocks passively settled to the bottom to be removed. Next, hot air was injected into the bottom of the soupy sludge mix in large, open, ground-level tanks. A bacteria hot tub, it resembled a giant, boiling brown cauldron. Whatever solids sunk were siphoned off into rectangular pits on site to dry in the sun and be trucked away. The remaining effluent was chemically treated with chlorine gas dissolved in sodium hydroxide and dumped directly into our water, which was a mile upstream from where Whale Creek meets Raritan Bay. The discharge was milky in color with suspended flakes, similar to an Oreo milkshake. The marsh is tidal, and as the level rose at high tide, the suspended solids would be dispersed out and stick to everything in the swamp. The fish, shrimp, crabs, turtles, muskrats disappeared or died, and the smell was, as you would expect, outrageous. Thankfully, today, that waste is rerouted to Bayshore Regional. The existing on-site plant provides inadequate and inappropriate filtration to be fed into our surface drinking water. The plant cannot effectively remove fecal coliform, PFAS from cookware, nor medications excreted in urine. A sewer plant is not a magical place where gross stuff goes and disappears. Homedale holds an ethical relationship of trust to be good stewards and protect the quality of our drinking water. We are trustees who have a fiduciary responsibility to the present 300,000 users and to our collective children. Further, passing the buck off to a private facility with limited state oversight lacks any assurance or protection from supply chain issues for chemical restocking, timely replacing obsolete parts, power outages, vandalism, and inexperienced operators. Once the housing is in place, we can't go back. In addition to the outright pollution of our water, the unintended consequences include odor complaints from persons nearby the open air plant and holding lagoon, as well as residents along the stream path, especially during low rainfall and drought periods. The zoning to permit a 3-story, 90-bed assisted living facility for memory care is a protected class of occupancy under the American for Disabilities Act. The public should be made aware that the ADA deems both drug rehabilitation and alcohol addiction to be in the same protected class. In other words, if the market for memory care dries up or becomes less lucrative, these alternatives can be directly substituted without local approval. I feel this is not an appropriate use of the land and is a detriment to our public health. It does not preserve and conserve critical environmental resources, nor maintain the ecological integrity of Planning Area 5. In relation to our master plan, this is not a low-intensity use designed to protect our natural resources. Neither does this physical location foster smart growth planning to reduce automobile dependency. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Yes.
Karen Strickland, 26 Hayward Hills Drive. Hello all, happy holidays. I just had a big birthday, big number.
25?
Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to say what I was going to say now. Bye. So I just, kind of old enough to look back over what we've been. I spent the afternoon kind of looking at redevelopment, what redevelopment is supposed to be about. And it's supposed to be about visions. It's supposed to be about imagining what could be. It is not supposed to be about we have someone who bought a piece of property and said, oh, I need to make money on my property. Township committee, help me figure out how to make money on my property. That's not township committee's job. And township committee's job is to kind of say, well, we have zoning, we have laws, we have laws about how zoning is supposed to happen. And the idea of zoning is it's a planning document where a community says what they want to have in a certain place. It doesn't start with the owner saying, I want to put up a big building. I want to have impact on my watershed. It says, what would be good for this? And I don't feel like this committee has really done its job in saying what's best for the community and starting at that point with a visioning. I looked back at the Alcatel-Lucent thing. They spent 4 years, we spent 4 years then as a town, lots and lots of meetings. One article said there were 18 meetings. There was a huge charrette with all sorts of different groups that were involved because they wanted to protect the building and keep it intact. And out of that came what we have now. It's working, so that's good. But I think that this committee is rushing to an easy solution, and there must be something else that could benefit the whole community and not be a detriment. And I wish, and I know that you did that, there was the group of people that got together, and this use of the building was the last one, the least preferred use of the building from that committee that met over all that time, because I did sit here and watch their presentation. So you had a committee of citizens who said, we don't want this use, and you're charging ahead, and I object to that. Okay, thank you.
No, I appreciate that, but I do object a little bit to the sentiment that we're rushing this through. I think when you look at the current economic environment, you look at what's feasible and viable in today's day and age. We know office space doesn't work. We know a recreation building, the 350,000 square feet, would never be feasible, especially with the traffic that would come with something like that to make it a viable thing. We know we don't want development saturating that property in the way something in certain terms of the things we've seen. We know that a distribution center doesn't work. We know that a storage center doesn't work. So I disagree with your statement that we've rushed to accommodate a developer. I think we've done anything but. At the end
No,
of the
but
day,
may I
what we had,
interrupt?
but one
Okay,
second, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, what we had to do, whether it's this year or 3 years from now, is come to an accommodation or an agreement or an understanding that whatever goes there has to have some kind of tangible benefit to the town. And there are going to be township amenities embedded within this. As we've talked about, there'll be less impervious coverage. There's going to be land set aside for fire and EMS as well. I think this works, right? Given the current economic environment. I just don't see a world where we want to level that property with 400 townhomes, right? Which is, as feasible as anything in this day and age.
But if I may interrupt, when you say we know this doesn't work. It doesn't work for whom? It doesn't work for the owner of the property.
No.
We are not owners of that property.
Hold on.
He bought it Office Laboratory.
Hold
I
on.
agree. There's
When I
a
say doesn't work, a 350,000 square foot recreation center doesn't work. We've looked at the economics of it, and on top of that, you don't want the traffic that comes with it because it'll be filled day and night. That's one. Do you want a storage facility there? Amazon trucks rumbling through our town?
My point is not that I want to even advocate for one use or another use. I don't think this is the forum that this discussion should happen in. It should be in a forum where just this issue is on the table. We have lock the stakeholders, and we say, what do we want there which you had in your committee, but then you ignored what they said.
We didn't ignore. We had to look at what could be done. There's a difference. We looked at what it was listed in order
could be
of
done
preference.
from, well, anyway.
No, but tell me what could be done. What would you like to see there? I'm just curious.
I don't feel like it's my place to what should be done there. I feel like this guy bought the property Office Laboratory. He knew it was Office Laboratory when he bought it.
Yeah.
That is what the town said in its zoning we want there.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Well, no.
that's-
The town didn't say we wanted Office Laboratory. That was the zoning of the property.
Yeah.
An
but
Office
the
Laboratory,
zoning
by
of-
the way, is not viable in this economic
Okay, but the
environment.
zoning of the property, I mean, that, when he bought
Okay.
it, the zoning is the agreement that the town makes with the landowner saying that this is what the town agrees can be there. People come and say, they can build by right if they fit into what the town has already deemed. But, so, he's got his Office Laboratory zoning.
Right.
And so, now he wants something different.
Well,
I
not
don't-
now. It's been going on for almost a year.
Okay, well, Lucent took 4 years. And anyway, I don't think it's certainly not my place to say what I think should go there. I think that I live on the north side of town, so the people on the south side of town probably have more voice in what they would like to see in their neighborhood. Personally, I think that for me, protecting the watershed is number one importance. So 300 homes, 300 residences that represent an increase like in 5% of the town of Homedale seems a little excessive.
But
anyway,
hold
yeah.
on, no, take a step back from that. That building used to fit 2,000 people.
Who came
Okay,
in the
so
morning and
there's
went
a
home at
difference.
night, right?
What's that?
They came in the morning and went home at night, but
Okay, that's right. A lot of traffic that comes with that too.
yeah.
Right. So in speaking again, just sort of going back to discussions that were had in prior meetings, the maximum amount of people in that facility is, I think, something like 40% of what the capacity used to be. Right now, I'm not saying there aren't things we're going to do, and we're going to ask our friends at CHA Partners to probably take some extraordinary steps as it comes to the environmental components, the sewage treatment, and the things of that nature as we go through a redevelopment agreement. Right, those things are going to happen. But I have to keep going back to, you can't look at this property in terms of it being vacant and what comes now. You have to look at this property in terms of what was there and what can be again. Okay, which means, once again, 60% fewer people at capacity at any given moment. It means less impervious coverage. It means more buffers coming off the roads, township amenities that come with, land donated for fire and EMS so that we're not impacting that part of our infrastructure and I don't want to say solving, but aiding in first responders downtown. You know, this isn't a sexy thing, right? People don't look at something and say, my goodness, continuing care retirement community, like, we're going to hang our hat on that. That's the legacy we want to have here, right? But it works for what we're doing. And I'm not being disparaging to that, by the way, to be very clear. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I look at this situation, given the environment with the affordable housing, which we are challenging legally, and other things coming down the pike that the state mandates, that we had to act with a sense of urgency. We didn't rush, but we acted with urgency. And we evaluated all the conceivable options we could have and found something that could work for the interests of our town. Something that is less impactful for our infrastructure, will not impact our schools, will provide revenues, will not be you know, a bustling sort of component here. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I wanted higher education. I thought it would have been amazing, right? Not feasible, right? Not feasible for the people downtown, although it might have worked culturally for us. So, you know, and forgive me if I'm going off on a little bit of a rant here, but I do object to, you know, these thoughts that, you know, there was not a heavy dose of consideration that went into this. We have focused extraordinarily on this the entire year, and we've gotten residents involved with purpose on that, and we've looked at the options. And what I hear is dissatisfaction from some folks, and I understand that, right? We all have opinions, you're a taxpayer, and that's okay. But I don't hear alternatives.
As I said, I don't feel like it's my place to offer alternatives right now. I feel like it should have been done in a widespread community activities that say, we have this piece of property, what can we do? I feel like this board is just moving ahead. I actually hear you advocating and justifying a lot for this one developer. And I haven't, you know, is that valid or not? I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to register my concern about the process. That was the main thing. I don't feel like it was a process that involved a whole lot of people, and a decision was made and moved on with. But I'm just registering my concern. If you feel I'm wrong, that's fine. I felt compelled to say that I do not feel that we are following the idea of redevelopment as it shows in the state about what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a blighted area that's a sore spot to a community, and a whole community gathers together and decides how they can improve it. And I don't feel like this fits that criteria. But that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Could I just make a comment, Mayor, you don't mind? Karen, I just wanted to say something, and you don't have to come up. You can sit down and relax. It's okay. I'm not here to berate you. I just have an opinion on my own because, you know, I heard a couple things there that I found a little offensive, and I'm going to speak for myself, not the rest of the board members, is that we're somehow advocating for this developer. I'm going to speak for myself, and I've met Mr. Coughlin many times, and he's a gentleman, he's a good guy, but I don't care about him, and I could care less about him, all due respect. We have no skin in the game. There is no personal interest on my part, and none that I'm aware of from any of this. We're just doing our job. All right, we're doing, as duly elected officials, we have a job to do. We have an obligation to the people who voted us and put us in office, and all we're doing is we're here trying to do our job to the best of our ability. This started last year when I was mayor. This process has not been rushed, but there has been a serious sense of urgency regarding other things that are going on as far as affordable housing and other mandates that are coming on. So we did take a sense, or the mayor has taken a sense of urgency. He's been doing a great job with that. But never at any time did we rush a process or fast track something because it served the owner or the developer in any capacity. Every decision that we make is for the residents of Homedale. We're trying to find the best use of this property. And I'm sorry to say, the honest facts are, it's not going to be open space, it's not going to be an abandoned building, and there's very limited options that we have in today's climate, okay? And getting back to what it's zoned for, I mean, that may have been zoned for that in the 50s. I don't know. But unfortunately, you know, certain zonings that are connected to a property are just not applicable in 2025. So I just had to get that off my chest because, you know, things may have been done in the past that I don't want to, you know, bring up in town, whatever, but this current body does not really, we're not here advocating for any developers or any business owner, or I shouldn't say business owners, any property owners or any developers that come to us. We're looking at the best use, the best outcome for the township, equitably, practically, you know, physically, aesthetically, all that's all that we're focused on. That's all we talk about. So I just had to say that. I respect you. I respect your opinion on this, but I think you're rushing to some conclusions, and I think you're a little misinformed on the process and what we've been doing here as a committee.
Thank you. DJ. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Vonda Colombini, 23 Country Squire Lane. I spoke at the last meeting and I brought up again the congestion. I understand that the use of the building, the way it's been you know, explained, does make sense. But again, I think there was a discussion about doing a traffic study. I haven't heard anything further about that. And, you know, one of the things that would help would be to involve, you know, how the traffic is going to be taken care of. Because, you know, it's good to say, oh, assisted living, you know, these people aren't going to go anywhere. But, you know, they have help that comes and goes. You know, they have to go shopping, they have busing. So there is going to be more traffic. And, you know, I just don't want Homedale to end up like Marlboro or other places where they overdeveloped and, you know, the traffic there is really a nightmare. And, you know, we love Homedale and it's such a great, you know, town to live in, and we just, you know, want to keep it that way. That's it.
No, and we appreciate that. Those types of studies, traffic studies, environmental studies, are all going to be done as we move forward in the redevelopment process. So it's not going to be neglected as we go forward. Thank you. Mr. Yanell?
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. As I've noted before, I am on the committee that actually made the consideration for this, and I'm in the unique and, for me, weird position of sort of disagreeing with a lot of the other citizen groups on this. And I respect Karen a lot. Wes, I thought your speech was excellent. I do really respect their comments on traffic, and I've said this many times, and I think I've said this to you, Mayor Imprevuto, a few times recently. In fact, I don't have the police chief here. I think there has been 3 accidents in the past few months, or 3 or 4, right outside Ladwood and Eli. The congestion on 520 is like we've been there 26 years. It's like we've never seen before. So any traffic study needs to be done in October, November, September. It has to be considered with the peak season for the college, for the Christian Brothers, and everything else going on. So yes, this isn't the 2,000 Prudential people coming in and out. These are retirees, and they're going to go shopping and everything. But we have a different beast down there now from even 3 years ago. And this has to be a real traffic study. The other thing, quick comments, this is sort of a repeat, but your point is well taken about the alternatives, because again, I was in that meeting. And it got contentious at times. I think we actually lost a member of the committee who I'm friends with. And the alternatives are not that attractive. Many of us don't want a college down there. We don't want South Homedale to be a college town. I agree, unless you were putting on a great show, you seem to kind of want to some degree at times, right? And we disagreed pretty vehemently about that. Like you said, a distribution center or a sports facility. How many times have we fought complexes in that part of town? Light towers, tournament traffic. We don't want that down there either. So the alternatives, for the most part, are not that attractive, including housing, the impact on the schools, and everything else like that. I won't go on too many tangents. The water processing has been my issue, and I think, Bill, we've spoken from day one. And we obviously have to have real analysis on that. That worries everyone, including on that committee. So that has to be very real and open and honest. And again, my comments from the last meeting and many times to you, the design of this is going to be important. It's South Homedale. It's a unique area. It has to look reasonable there. We can't have a lot of skimping, and God knows there's a lot of new modern infrastructures and things going on in Monmouth and Ocean counties. Can't be looking like that. And lighting, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but some of the lighting that's been approved in towns, and candidly in some of our parts of town and infrastructure, is so perverse and ridiculous. The lighting is going to have to be very appropriate. So my only other comment is this isn't a wonderful option, and it's not without risks and the change in potential tenants that can go there. I think that's a really good point, and we have to lock that down in an agreement to the degree we can and really take a lot of energy of that. But this isn't great, but it's also not horrible. And I think the fact, because again, I've lived there 26 years, this room is empty, relatively empty. And maybe you're voting next time. If people in that area were aghast by this or horrified by this, and I want to thank the owner again, just to review, he accommodated a lot of our feedback in the. Others didn't want those townhouses or whatever they're going to be right on Homedale Road. We had some other suggestions. They considered that. So again, this isn't wonderful. There are risks, but it's not horrible. And the fact that this room is relatively empty is an indication of that. But we have a lot to consider going forward, and you may lose some support here if it's not seriously considered. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We understand that. Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Bill Little, 8 Coventry Square. I wanted to reiterate, not reiterate so much, reemphasize what Wes and Jay have both talked about with the water treatment. It's my biggest concern that the water treatment is appropriate for the current usage and for current standards, not for when the package plant was built, however many decades ago. And also the use, the partially medical facility there is likely to have a very different effluent than a business environment. So it all needs to be taken care of. The other thing was, I'm kind of concerned, I don't understand here in the utility and stormwater management regulations thing, the last sentence in B, basically it sounds like there's a discharge permit, and if the identified permit discharges can be more than that, then we'll just raise what's in the permit and wave our hands and make it so. Is that the way I'm supposed to read this?
Counselor, that's not the way I interpreted it.
Let me look at the section.
And Bill, we do hear your concerns and everybody's concerns around the watershed and everything else.
That package plan is not new.
Correct, and we will more than cross T's and dot I's on that. I can assure you as this process goes forward.
Yeah, Mayor, I would not interpret the section that way at all. We said that
help me out,
basically,
man.
sure, okay, so we said that the redevelopment agreement, which is the next document to be approved, shall set forth compliance requirements, including phasing, that ensures to the satisfaction of the township engineer that the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant is sufficient to accommodate the flows commensurate with same. So essentially, we're going to have terms in there so that they can't do anything that they don't establish to the township engineer's satisfaction can be handled. And we're going to make sure that we have the proper oversight with our municipal officials so that the public can have confidence that, the wastewater treatment facility will be
And then the
sufficient.
last sentence in that section?
That's about stormwater runoff. Do you have a particular concern about that?
This is page 12. RDA shall further address any instances in which there is a need to amend the discharge permits to accommodate the additional wastewater flows.
Sure. So if there's a calculation and they need to make some sort of an improvement to the wastewater treatment facility, we're going to have language in there so that they have to do it in consultation with the township engineer, and it's done to the engineer's satisfaction. So basically, yeah, everything's going to obviously have to satisfy DEP standards. Candidly, the language here was really to allow us to have the township engineer work with us and have more detailed, engineering standards that are going to be implemented through the redevelopment agreement. And we wanted this document to be much more of a macro planning document, and those specifics will be handled separately, just like we did with Bellworks.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it looked like would just have been a paperwork exercise, and,
I wouldn't take anything on there as an accommodation, necessarily. I would take it as, we're going to do the right things to put the guardrails in place and have the appropriate rigor around this.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
You said it, but I just want to make another point on this. J&L 18 Lavin Drive. This is a very bright community. Some of the statements, the observations, I've been on these groups, fighting things, wanting things. This is a very bright, engaged community, an intelligent community, lots of connections, lots of research abilities, lots of discernment. I haven't seen alternatives. I've seen a lot of emails, a lot of complaints. I haven't seen any real alternatives. And yes, we could say, he bought the land, frig you, stuff, In this environment, like you mentioned, with the affordable housing and everything, that may not be a way to handle it. And I can tell you, that side of town doesn't want to go there at this point. We're not against some, but we don't want an 800 unit. We don't want the Colts Neck, we don't want that forced on us. And that's, wait, you said something? What? So I haven't seen any practical alternatives. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Mr. Blumenthal, we're going to go for round 2 with everybody?
As prompted by all the other comments, something I didn't address earlier, but if we're going to talk about overall concept as to what's going on here, this has been moving quickly. I don't think it's been rushed. I first became aware of the situation a couple of years ago, and it didn't take me long to think about what I thought should be appropriate. 20 years ago, I was on a subcommittee of the Planning Board, the Environmental Commission, which took a look and rezoned most of the rest of southern Homedale. The Henry West property, the SS West property, the properties on both sides of Route 34. It was an extensive process. We had a grant to support it. We hired a consulting planner from Rutgers, Tony Nellison, who was an off-the-wall guy, but lots of crazy ideas, and we went through lots of things, and together with Paul Phillips, who was the township planner at the time. And we ended up doing what's in the rest of the larger parts of southern Homedale, what we called conservation zoning, to maintain, as court approved from prior litigation going back into the 90s, the approximate 4-acre density, but mandating 65% open space and the like. A little piece of the HMF property across from the Fox Hollow Vineyard has existed with a new cul-de-sac, and the west property may finally get developed in a similar fashion. So when it first came up that, hey, Vonage property, what are we going to do with it? My first thought, which didn't last very long, was let's do the same thing as we did in the rest of southern Homedale. Low density, residential. It's 88 acres. That means maybe 12, 14 houses. But if you're going to take down the building and the cost of the land, there's no way that that can be economical. The zoning was put in place 40 years ago, approximately. And what was made sense then does not necessarily make sense today. You've got to look, and has been mentioned already, office lab, there is no market for that here now. So you've got to look at what are the other alternatives, and I guess that's what you and the committee have been doing. And it became a, you know, the owner has certain rights as well. You can't just take their property unless you condemn it, and then you're going to have to pay them what it's worth, and it could be $20 million or more, and then afford to utilize that as open space or whatever. It was very obvious to me that that was not a viable option. So as we look at all the other options, well, as it happens, somebody came along, bought the property, and is now making a proposal. So you need to listen to that proposal. You tweak it. You want to make sure that environmental issues, the sewage options.
Ralph, do me a favor. Can you turn around and speak the other way, maybe? I'm only teasing. I'm only teasing, Ralph. I'm only teasing you. I'm only teasing you.
Yeah, it's a conundrum, and I think you've been trying to address it. And you know, some of the simple options just are not economically viable, and you owe it to the owner, the property developer, to take that into account, because you don't have the right to say to them, I don't care what your costs are. It's not viable. So although this may not be the ideal, it's better than a number of the other options, as you, Rocco, have mentioned, specifically different things that would not be appropriate. Amazon warehouse, good grief. And, you know, the traffic is an issue, but my gut, again, is you've did the arithmetic. There used to be 2,000 people there. And now we're talking 450 max, some of whom are in nursing home beds and are not going to be trafficking at all. To first approximation, will it work? Has there been other developments in the area, such as the college, which have made things worse? Yes. Is it appropriate to do a current traffic study and see what can be done? Yes. The sewage treatment plant, I think it was 2,000 people, and now it's many fewer proposed. So hopefully with good effort of everybody working together, we'll work through those things. And fingers crossed, you'll end up with a good, maybe not perfect, development.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Oh. It's the last second rounder, though. That's it. This is yeah.
Bill Little, 8 Coventry Square. I just wanted to reiterate again about the traffic. It is, to me, almost meaningless and frustrating to hear about, oh, it used to be 2,000 people and now it's only 400 and some. It was 2,000 people 20 years ago, and it's a smaller number now, but the ambient, you know, baseline traffic volume is much, much higher now than it was then. So, you know.
No, we're cognizant of that. I think it's...
We need a serious traffic study.
No, and that'll be done. I mean, look, I think, so if it's okay, I think the public has spoken multiple times. So before we move forward, I want to sort of conclude this portion of things with, you know, I'd say number one, we're going to continue to be as open and transparent as possible here the whole way through. When that comes to the studies that'll need to be done to ensure that this facility meets the needs and expectations of our town. That comes down to the aesthetics, as Mr. Yanello mentioned, and making sure that the people, you know, the residents are comfortable with that. And although I have challenged some folks that have spoken, I do want you to all understand, I do appreciate your feedback and your thoughts as taxpayers that you're right. I think if anything, this governing body over the past 2 years, starting with Mayor Lucarelli and carrying through to this year, and I suspect going forward, if we've exemplified anything, it's that we have a very critical eye on land use in our town. From what was done with the horn antenna and the 35 acres there, to the discussions we're having around Potter's Farm, to the land next to St. Catharines, and now, of course, Vonage. We are adamant about, to the extent we can, limiting development in our town, preserving open space as best we can, but also trying to find practical solutions for the land that we do have, because doing nothing in certain cases, as with this Vonage property, is just simply not an option. So you find and you sort of thread the needle to find what works. So that's what we've tried to do this year. And as it was stated earlier, yes, we operated with urgency, but this was not rushed. And many things were considered along the way. That doesn't mean there isn't more work to be done. Right, as has been stated around traffic studies, environmental studies, the watershed. These are the types of things that will face heavy scrutiny as we go forward on a redevelopment agreement, and we all work towards a resolution that benefits our town. So I just want folks to understand we've never taken this lightly. This has been the elephant in the room, so to speak, since the year kicked off, and it'll continue to be so. But we took the most prudent path we could. As we looked at alternatives and what this could become and what just sort of, as I would say, works, given all the considerations we have in our town. So more work to be done for sure. We hear you loud and clear. We agree with you in many cases, and we're going to continue to be open and transparent about how this process plays out. With that said...
Mayor, can I just add one thing to what you just said, which I thought was perfect? We're also fighting development on our borders as well. We take this very seriously.
And that's right, in the Middletown development as well. So Mike, with that...
Right, as I mentioned earlier to Mr. Blumenthal's procedural point, the Township Committee can't consider final adoption tonight because the Planning Board is going to conduct its statutory review next Tuesday. And so the motion that's proposed is a motion to table final adoption pending that Planning Board review and to schedule a special meeting for December 19th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m., at which final adoption will be considered on this ordinance.
So I have a motion for the special meeting.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Foster? Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay. This special meeting will be scheduled for December 19, 2024 at 5:30.
All right, thank you, Wendy.
Keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Next is public hearing on ordinance 2024-23, which is the salary ordinance for township officials and non-aligned employees.
Public hearing, any thoughts from the public? Yes, Ms. Strickland.
Karen Strickland, 26 Hayward Hills Drive. We have some of the best employees in this building, and I just want to say I really like these high numbers, and I hope there's certain people who are going to be right near the top. Our recreation people are phenomenal. The women who work up there in the buildings and permit, excellent. We got great people. We need to support them. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
What about the elected officials? What? I'm teasing.
For the record, that's staying the same. I don't want any. Yeah. Well, thank you. Anybody else on 2024-23? Going once, going twice. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Oh, thank you.
Second.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. LaMountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lucarelli?
I'm obviously a yes, but also I think thank you for acknowledging it, and I think that's been another challenge for this committee is making sure that we are always doing the right thing for our employees in our township here. So a big yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2024-23 has been successfully passed and will be published in the Asbury Park Press according to law. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just one quick note. The fire company has submitted a request for preliminary approval related to a 9/11 monument at the firehouse. At this point, they're just looking for preliminary approval to move forward. The details are, as I said, preliminary at this point, but they anticipate providing a program for fundraising. There is in line a donation of the World Trade Center steel that would be available, and this is something that they're looking to have in place for next year's 25th anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and there'll be more information as the plans are fully developed.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Counselor?
Sure, Mayor. Only update I have, I think we mentioned at the last meeting the Township Committee's authorization to enter into the lawsuit that we have challenging the fourth round Mount Laurel mandates. The mayor issued a press release and had a press conference earlier this week where we discussed some of the findings that we found as part of the data issued by the Department of Community Affairs. They did mapping to calculate some of the components of the law, specifically the land capacity factor, and it contained some results that we found pretty surprising, including indicating that affordable housing development would be possible in the PNC Bank Arts Center parking lot and also in the area between the parking lot and the Homedale Swim Club. So I think just some of these issues that we're dealing with from a planning and legal standpoint underscore the the importance of asserting all our rights that we can. So that lawsuit is moving forward. There's a hearing before the judge on December 20th on whether to put the law on hold. So we'll see what happens with that. And Homedale is a plaintiff in that lawsuit.
You got the line of the night, Mike. I'm a little jealous. Yeah, that was defies logic for sure. So thank you. And thank you for all your work on that.
Oh, certainly.
Mr. Engineer?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the committee, Mr. Romano.
Thank you, Mayor. Starting with the library, we have some numbers for 2024. We had 3,334 items checked out, 6,676 visitors, 1,020 reference questions answered, 1,115 new books and other items added to the library, and 366 patrons used the quiet rooms and meeting rooms. In terms of programs, we've got Wednesday movie night is now limited to once per month beginning next month. Chess Club is drawing an average of 20 players per week. Beginning in the new year, the library is partnered with Hackensack Meridian and will be offering a monthly series of wellness education programs. The library will also be starting a Mahjong Club beginning in early 2025. From the Board of Ed, the 2025-2026 draft academic calendar has been published. The proposed draft calendar for the 2025-2026 school year has been discussed. Oh, I guess it wasn't published. The calendar allows for 2 days for emergency closings, which brings the school year for students to 182 days, and teachers' contractual work year consists of 183 days, and the 2 additional snow days bring the school year for teachers to 185 days. The calendar will be prospectively approved at the December 18th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. The D10 cheerleaders within the Homedale Football Association continued their winning ways this weekend, taking first place at the Jingle Jam cheerleading competition at the Showboat in Atlantic City. Congratulations. These girls are in their very first competition year of cheerleading and have, again for the third time, come home as the champions. Not only did the Homedale squad come in first place, but they also were the grand champions by having the highest score of the 2-day competition within their group. On the theater side, congratulations to Homedale High School senior and Theater Guild member Jones Almeida, who performed in Phoenix productions of The Prom at the County Bassey Theater in Red Bank. The ensemble, of which Jones was a member, was nominated for Best Ensemble. Way to go, Jones. We have some upcoming concerts. December 10th at HHS SATS, the Winter Choral Concert at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. On December 12th, we have the Indian Hill Winter Choral and Band Concert at 6:30 in the cafeteria. And on December 17th, the Winter Band Concert at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. Ms. LeMountain?
Thank you, Mayor. The Homedale Green Team. The Green Team continues to work with Township Administration to build a team to create a community energy plan for reducing emissions and conserving energy throughout the township. The first meeting of the Community Energy Planning Team will be held Tuesday, January 28th at 6:30 p.m. To learn more, please see the Green Team webpage on the township website. Residents can register for the meeting by using the volunteer link at the top of the page. And please feel free to come out. We're always looking for new folks to join us, come up with new ideas, and help us with the programs that the Green Team is trying to do each year. The Homedale Heritage Committee, we had the inaugural Homedale Heritage Day this past Sunday, December 8th at the Homedale High School, and I have to say, holy cow, it was such a feat. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined the kind of attendance, the excitement, the enthusiasm that I saw. And so much more organized. Not that I didn't think it would go off well, but it was a professional event. It really came together very nicely. We had over 600 people in attendance. The Heritage Committee wants to express a special thank you to some of the leaders from the community that did attend: Assemblywoman Vicki Flynn, Assemblyman Jerry Scharfenberger, Mayor Rocco Impreveduto, Deputy Mayor Brian Foster, myself, Chief Alaco, Board of Ed President Terrence Wall, Board of Ed Vice President Chris Damari, Superintendent of Schools Dr. Cascone. And what was so great about this is that people didn't just drop in. They stayed for the duration. And it was just a lot of fun to see people of all ages, primarily all Homedale folks, just enjoying each other's company and just being somewhere together. During the event, there were cultural food, desserts, snacks, the donations from 18 different restaurants, stores, and businesses from across Homedale. There were 11 different groups that made presentations. Representatives from 9 countries provided cultural activities, including crafts and games. Can't say thank you enough to everyone that helped out with it and everyone that came and enjoyed the event. The committee's already started planning for next year, and we even got some donations, which was very nice. So thank you again. We plan to make this an annual event. And of course, if anyone's interested in becoming part of the Heritage Committee, please feel free to reach out through the township, and we're more than happy to have that many more folks involved. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamountain. Mr. Lucarelli?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry I missed it. It looked like I saw pictures. It looked like it was just a wonderful event. Police Department updates. The Homedale Police Department has a Toys for Tots program, so they'll be collecting toys for the United States Marine Corps Toys for Tots program. Donations of new unwrapped toys will be collected from now until December 13th. There's collection boxes in the lobby of the police department. They also remind residents not to place their leaves in the road and or on the sidewalks. I don't get this one. I always struggle with this with the chief. But if a resident hires a company for cleanup, the company is responsible to remove the leaves. We're almost done. I think there's only a couple more weeks, and the Public Works should have all that cleaned up. And then during the winter months, the department reminds everyone to please clean off all the ice and snow from your vehicle before you start driving. And also, there will be no parking on the streets when they are snow covered. Please remove your cars from the streets. Fire department, they've had responded to 12 calls so far this month. They also responded to a residence recently on the 8th for a report of a large brush fire. It was extinguished quickly and with no damages to the structure. Again, they also want to remind everyone during these months while we're having, in the winter months, if you're having outdoor fires, please make sure that you extinguish them properly, because the embers will stay hot and could cause leaves or light brush to catch fire. The township is also doing, the fire department's doing Santa runs throughout the township. Please keep your eye out on social media accounts to find out when Santa will be in your area. On January 9th, 3 new members will be starting the Fire Academy at Monmouth County in Freehold, and they are expected to graduate in April of 25. Let's see. Sorry. Department of Public Works. Residents looking to dispose of household hazardous waste, paint thinners, solvents, etc., can contact the Monmouth County Hazardous Waste Unit for disposal information. And then lastly would be the Christmas tree pickup. Sections A and B will be on January 6th, and sections C and D will be on the week of January 13th. And that is all I have for everyone. Just wanted to congratulate Sergeant Weimer for his promotion to tonight. We wish him the best. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lucarelli. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Very light report from me this evening. We had the Christmas tree lighting and the menorah lighting last week. I unfortunately was not able to stay too long. My youngest son had a basketball game. It was a pretty chilly evening, so a lot of people inside and out, but we got over here and everything was set up great as usual per our recreation department. Just wanted to piggyback on Kim's comments with the Heritage Committee. It was great, and the amount of food and just the atmosphere and how upbeat it was just really shows you what kind of a community we have. Miss Lou, great job, heading that thing and getting together a fantastic group of volunteers. And Karen, I'll just say I agree with you 100% about what you said. We got a lot of great people, not only in this building, but out on the street with our DPW people, keeping the town looking and feeling the way we want. Our police who are out on the street, our volunteer groups, fire, EMS. That's how I got my start. So the community is wonderful. I personally take it very seriously and appreciate hearing all your comments tonight, because it does mean something as constituents and members of our community. But believe me, every one of us up here want it to look, feel the way it is, the way it's been, and that's commitment. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Want to take a moment to congratulate longtime Homedale employee Glenn Henderson on his retirement this month. Glenn has served as Director of Auto Services, managing the central repair and fleet garage for the township. Glenn has been part of the Homedale team since first being hired in 1994. Congratulations on your well-deserved retirement after 30 years of service to our community. Due to Christmas Day holiday, the Zone 3 curbside recycling, normally scheduled for Wednesday, December 25th, has been rescheduled and will instead be picked up on Saturday, December 28th. I'm also happy to announce that the new ADA-compliant playground at Phillips Park is open to the public for use. This new playground was made possible due to a state recreation grant that the township received from the DCA. Homedale Town Hall and the Recycling Center will be closed Tuesday, December 24th and Wednesday, December 25th in observance of the Christmas holiday. Homedale Town Hall and the Recycling Center will also be closed on Wednesday, January 1st in observance of New Year's Day. On behalf of my Township Committee colleagues and all of the staff here at Town Hall, I'd like to wish all of our residents Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a wonderful and prosperous New Year. And I want to echo Deputy Mayor's sentiments and thank once again our outstanding recreation team for the tree lighting and menorah lighting last week, along with obviously our police, firefighters, and public works teams that help us pull that together. And I also do want to echo the sentiments and thank my friend Chung Yin for the Heritage Day. When we conceived of a Heritage Committee, I think I can tell you that day alone went above and beyond anything I could have ever imagined that we could have done there to pull our community together and bring in the different interests and cultures that we have here. So just an extraordinary day, something that our town can be proud of. Really just looking forward to next year as this continues to grow and be another tent pole, if you will, for our community. So thank you, everybody. On that note, we will now move to public comment. Mr. Yanello got the first hand.
Quantities of materials that are recycled, and we therein report that to the state, and that generates our recycling tonnage grant.
Oh, okay.
So there is a reporting mechanism in place.
Okay, that's interesting. This is constructive criticism, DJ. We love the Santa runs. My daughter and I were on the driveway cheering like we do every year. They almost blew us back to the house with the horns. They were very aggressive. My daughter's like, "Are you going to tell him, Dad, at the town meeting?" So I'm like, "Yeah, Jordan, I'm gonna." So, yeah. My only suggestion is, if you're coming right up to a crowd of people, maybe wait till after you pass. It was truly mind-boggling. Mayor Impreveduto, I don't think you've had time to look into this. Do we have any idea what's going to replace LA Fitness in Homedale, which is a loss? Even though it was not a well-kept gym, it was a good gym for a lot of people. It was a big gym, a lot of decent equipment. Do we know what's going there?
I haven't had a chance to look at it, Jay, but
Okay,
I'll get to it this week.
It'd be interesting to know what's going to go there. The Parkway exit, has there been any rule on that from the Parkway? Are you going to be able to exit near PNC going forward?
We, Jay, I know you followed up with them. I don't know if we've heard back. We did meet with a number of representatives from the Turnpike Authority, State Police, et cetera. And I know we followed up, but I don't know if we've heard back in terms of their traffic count, the engineer design, the engineer concepts or anything like that.
Yeah, we have followed up and requested a status report on both the traffic count information, and additionally, the Turnpike Authority had offered to provide some concept plans. They have not provided us with any of that information, nor have they committed to a date when we would be receiving it. But the initial discussions were generally early next year.
Yeah, and this is one of those that we've been persistent, but then I have to pull back and remember they're responsible for all of the Turnpike and the Parkway and all the towns associated. So trying to give them, it's a good question and something we're certainly very obviously interested in finding a way to remedy, but trying to give these guys the room to do the work too.
Okay, and I'm not pushing to close it personally. I don't want to make enemies in town. Is it I know the town kind of wants to close it. Is it illegal now technically to use that still?
I mean, technically it's considered toll evasion, which
still
is illegal.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now look, it's a public service road, so there's only certain things we can do to restrict.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that we feel strongly about closing it, but we think that there needs to be something done given the volume coming in and out.
Yeah, I heard those numbers. They were astounding.
Yeah, again, as we've said, 5,000 cars a day.
Yeah.
So something needs to be done. It's the dead center of town. We have EMS, fire, and police right there. God forbid something happens. It's a problem for us. So I wouldn't say we're advocating for a shutdown necessarily, but we have to find some kind of we have to find some alternative to what's going on there.
Got it. Jay, I noticed a vacuuming leave machine this year. Is that new, or maybe I missed it before? Is that effective? And I'm not complaining, but are we behind schedule like in certain zones at this point? Because the leaves seem to all come down at once this year versus other years. Do you have any insights on that?
I don't have anything specifically to report. I'm not familiar with the
You don't know every
operation
piece of equipment?
The
Okay.
leaf vacuum.
I feel like I've seen the leaf vacuum before. If that's
You have?
helpful.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
But that's.
But
just
we don't know if we're
anecdotal.
behind or not on schedule on leaves. Okay.
I don't know where we are.
Okay.
In terms of the schedule, I can't report, but I know that the volume of leaves is greater than it has been in the last
Yeah,
couple
it
of
seemed
years.
to all come down very late. There was a mayor meeting about drones. Were you involved in this at all, the drone reportings? No?
I didn't attend that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
You knew
yeah.
that was coming? No, I've been waiting. Yeah, well, I'm not that freaked out about it, but it is weird. When the governor says, oh, well, everything's fine, but has no idea what it is, it's a little... It's strange.
Yeah.
The other thing, really quickly, the construction going on across from the Horn Antenna, there's a lot of mud coming down right now. Do we have any idea? Did you notice that? You're shaking your head. Yeah. Isn't that something that could be prevented or no? It's not the end of the world, but if we start getting some heavy rains, we may have a big issue up there on that.
Yeah, there was an issue with that. I want to say maybe 6 months ago, where some heavy rains came in, and it had been addressed by the. There was, and I don't recall all of the. Yeah, Steve got involved. So the construction office got involved to make sure that there were the proper guardrails in place to prevent heavy runoff and mud, because it sort of ran off into the adjacent neighborhood. So there are guardrails in place now, and there are things done to prevent that. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I have.
Something must have gone wrong, because it's pretty muddy up there right now.
So we'll take another look at it and see what they missed.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Blumenthal.
Jay, would you do me a favor? Could you ask Brian where they're at on the leave pickup, and if you do, to answer Mr. Yanello's question, could you shoot me an email and let me know if they're on schedule or behind schedule?
Will do.
Thank you.
Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Yeah, those fire trucks were really, really loud when they came around the other night. If I didn't know that it was a Santa run, I would have been having a fit. But and there were 3 vehicles too. There was a SUV all decorated, and then the fire truck, and then a pickup truck that seemed to be pulling a sleigh. But my question is, there was somebody in the sleigh who was big and had a red suit. I knew who that was. But there was somebody else sitting next to him, and I don't think it was a woman. Was it one of you?
Must have been an elf.
It was a pretty big one. But anyway, they went zooming past so fast. But I thought it was a little early in the season. But I know one year my kids insisted that it was really Santa Claus coming in their bedroom. I think, according to my schedule, that there is one more leaf pickup. Not just one, but 2 leaf pickups?
Sure, if your schedule is different than mine. Is there a date? I know that the leaf collection is coming to an end.
Yeah, we're winding it down. Yeah, this is the last one.
There was only one then?
No, there was 2.
All right, well, they only came to our house. I mean, you could hardly find the end of Stony Brook because there were so many leaves there. I mean, they were dikes. It was ridiculous. But you didn't clean up very much afterwards. I think you're supposed to run the street sweeper down the street afterwards because there's all this brown mush that's going to get caught in the storm sewers. I guess that's what I had to say on that. Oh, what's this about the LA Fitness leaving? The sign was still there when I drove down 35 today at about 2 miles an hour because there's so many cars up there.
December 28th.
Really?
I heard they couldn't agree on rent.
Well, you'll have to go to Live Free and pay $400 a month then. Okay.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Question to Mike with regard to what he said a few moments ago with regard to the litigation. Could you repeat what properties you said the state was saying you should supposed to use?
Among other interesting options, the Parkway North, if you're going through the Arts Center, you have the ramp to get on Parkway North, and then you have the ramp to go into that north commuter lot that's no longer really used. I think it's actually part of the holiday lights. That land between the lot and the Parkway is all charted off as the computer saying it's developable for affordable housing. So that's counting against the township's obligation. And there's also property between that parking lot and the Homedale Swim Club. That's also marked off. And this is all on the state's website. You can look at it. And, that's just 2 examples. I mean, if you look around the rest of the town, there are many other instances where the properties are clearly not developable, and it just, underscores the issues that we're facing.
Okay, I first thought I heard you say it's the parking lot itself, but in which case, what's the Arts Center going to do? Just make things worse. My comment on in regard to the Arts Center and this highway, be aware, and this goes back to a recommendation that was in the 2004 master plan that was never followed up on. The way the township zoning is, all publicly owned property are in what's called the P zone, P meaning public. There are no zoning requirements whatsoever for anything in the P zone. And what that master plan recommended was that the P zone be divided into 3 zones and to put somewhat meaningful requirements on each of the 3 zones. One, and you can call them whatever you will, one would be where you anticipate there actually being development. The property this building is sitting on, the school sites, would get a category. You might put bulk limitations on what you could do or whatever, but some kind of limitation. You at least say you don't want 100-story buildings on them. The second one would be things with active recreation. It's a low scale. You might allow bathrooms, for example. And the third would be properties that are simply going to be open space. I'm mentioning that now because the entire Arts Center and Parkway are in the P zone. There's no requirements on them. Trying to get this out of this affordable housing situation is totally appropriate. That's ridiculous. But if they tried to do something like that and come in with a development on that art center property, any open space, that we would have much less defense for it right now because there is no zoning for any of those properties. They could come in and build on their own property anywhere a 100-story tower, and nothing would stop them. So the concept of dividing up the P-zone and putting some meaningful but simple limitations on it might help some of that.
We could certainly look at that. I think that it may have limited legal effect, especially if the property is state-owned, because it's likely exempt from zoning. But just to kind of, allow people to better understand the art center example, the state has not made any steps towards affordable housing development at the Arts Center. The Turnpike Authority has no involvement in this. It's merely an example that we've put out there of different properties that the computerized calculations completed by DCA that are a component of the numbers that they developed and the 120 some odd units that were calculated for Homedale, how they calculated that number for Homedale and every other municipality. And, every town, if they're doing their homework, is looking at this online database, and we're simply getting public awareness out there of the issues we're facing with, a property as impracticable as that one being marked
the
off.
key comment here would be to take whatever the properties are for Homedale to make sure that we have appropriate limiting zoning in place so that somebody can't all of a sudden do something ridiculous. And the P-zone is one area we years ago identified as not having any limitations on it. And you don't have to have a complicated ordinance, but just identify which property should be in which zone and have some meaningful limitations on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public? Yes, ma'am.
Chongyin Liu, 37 Oaks Drive. Thank you, everybody, for your support. I'm the chairperson of Heritage Committee. I would like to come here to say thank you for your support. And Kim, thank you so much. You were with us at every single critical moment. So thank you for your support and your assistance. Mr. Lucarelli, I know you are not physically there. I didn't see you there. However, your beautiful flowers and the plants well represent you there. Everybody's seeing that very happy. Without those flowers and plants, I don't think our event will be so beautiful. So thank you so much. I hope you stay good shape this morning when you pick it up. Very good. Yeah, it's above and beyond what I expected. I walk in and they said, wow, this is what we got, and then committee, everybody's very happy. You can see my voice. I'm still recovering from the exhaustion, but I'm so glad on behalf of my Heritage Committee, I'm so glad everybody liked our effort and happy and enjoy. I know, Jay, you were there too, but all of a sudden I couldn't find you. Where is it? I think you probably enjoy those kind of food you're eating. Yeah, so people don't want to give up their food. They don't want to come to the auditorium. So I think we have a lot of things to improve, and already have a few more countries say they would like to join. They feel so bad they didn't sign up on time this year, but next year we're going to have more surprise. I hope so. So thank you so much. And then we have another piece need to present is the art contest. We do have a winners, and waiting for Wendy to schedule a meeting for us to come in, and those little young artists will give us another level of surprise. They are wonderful. And then Kim, thank you so much for your dedication again. And Mayor, for your support, I will say from day one, you can give me this big job. I say what I'm going to do. A lot of people ask me where those concepts come from. I said I went to Washington, D.C., and then stayed there 3 days to look at the cherry blossom. So how do they do in the whole section? How do they run their program? That's how I brought about this event, and then hopefully we'll grow up. And only one thing I didn't have is parade. I wish we have that one day, maybe 2026, we can join the celebration of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Mr. Little?
Bill Little at Coventry Square, trying and failing to keep up with Ralph and Jay. Leaf pickup. So the first thing is the leaf pickup. My wife heard that, I think the DPW refers to it as snuffleupagus, the thing that picks up the leaves off of the storm drains.
Could be.
That has come by a couple of times. It is fantastic, because we have a storm drain at the intersection of Coventry and Algonquin that blocks up badly all the time. Come by tomorrow, you'll see. And every now and then it's just totally cleared. And it's like, it's a great piece of equipment. The other thing is the leaf pickup. I know they're on the second round. Are they behind schedule? Of course they're behind schedule. They're behind every year. I don't mean to throw any shade. I think the schedule is unrealistic to say Section A in 1 week, Section B the next week. I'm supposed to be picked up at the week of December 2nd. I don't think I'll see them this week. What we need, you've heard of a Santa tracker? We need a leaf pickup
tracker, yeah.
There you go. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else in the public? Going once, going twice. Thank you, everybody.